When you think of AI, what comes to mind? Probably these giant far-off data centers, right? But what if the real AI revolution is happening way closer to home? Today, we're going to talk about how AI is breaking out of the cloud and showing up in the real world, everywhere from a huge factory to, your local coffee shop.
So really, what's the connection between some high-tech factory robot and you grabbing a latte? It sounds kind of random, I know. But the answer? Well, it tells us everything about where AI is going next. It's all about pulling that computing power out of the cloud and putting it right here, in the world with us.
Okay, so for the longest time, AI has basically been a prisoner of the cloud, right? Stuck in these huge data centers. But that's all changing. We are moving into a whole new phase where AI has to think on its feet, Make decisions right there, on the spot, where things are actually happening.
So you've got two different jobs for AI. First, there's the training part. That happens back in the data center. Think of it like the AI is in school doing all its homework, processing tons of data to build its brain. That's the heavy lifting. But then, there's the inference part. This happens out in the real world at what we call the edge. This is where the AI actually uses its brain to make instant decisions. It's like the difference between spending years studying in a library versus having to make a split-second call on a chaotic city street. One is slow and thoughtful, the other has to be instantaneous.
And this right here is exactly why those local decisions are so important. I mean, just picture it. A robot on a factory line has to phone home to a data center thousands of miles away for every single move. Any tiny little lag in the network, what we call latency, and that thing is going to be walking and suddenly it's going to just come to a halt. It would just freeze. For AI that's actually moving around in our world, those decisions have got to be instant, no delays. It has to happen right here, right now.
Okay, so we've established the cloud is just too slow for this stuff. So the big question is, how do you get really powerful, really reliable AI into thousands of different places? We're talking coffee shops, stores, warehouses. The answer? You have to completely rethink the hardware.
I mean, if you've ever peeked into the back room of a store or a coffee shop, you know what I'm talking about. It's usually this big rack of stuff. Just a total mess of servers and switches and wires going everywhere. One person perfectly called it a spaghetti of cables. And it's not just ugly, it's super complicated and a total nightmare to deal with.
And let's be real. The barista who's making the coffee is not really the one that you want back there moving wires around, You need a system that's just simple, something that works and something you can manage from halfway across the world if you need to.
So here's the solution. It's this really cool idea called composable hardware. Forget that big, messy rack. Instead, you've got one clean, simple box. And the real genius here is that it's modular. You can literally customize it by sliding in these different modules or sleds. Need more computing power? Slide in a compute sled. Need AI power? Pop in a GPU sled. Need storage? There's a sled for that. It's basically like building with Legos, but for enterprise IT. You can create the exact computer you need for any spot, whenever you need it.
And this approach is a total game changer. I mean, it gets rid of that spaghetti mess of cables, for one, but more importantly, it means one central IT team can manage thousands of these boxes all from the cloud. The setup on site it's just wild. Someone at the store just plugs it in, scans a QR code with their phone, and that's it. They're done. Everything else is handled remotely. You don't need an IT expert on site anymore. At all.
But this is about more than just convenience, This new kind of hardware is really a launchpad. Because when you make it this easy to put powerful AI pretty much anywhere, you're basically setting the stage for a world that's just full of millions of autonomous AI agents.
And this is a huge leap beyond the kind of AI we're used to, the simple question and answer chatbots. The next big thing is what's called agentic workflows. We're talking about AI agents that don't just respond to you, they actually act for you. You can give one of these agents a really complex goal, and it will go out, find data, reason with itself, and work for minutes or even hours to get the job done. It's like having a little autonomous worker operating on your behalf.
Okay, but this brings up a massive question. If you have millions of these little AI agents running around making decisions out in the real world, how on earth do you keep that secure? The old security models we built for people, they just completely fall apart.
It means we have to completely change how we think about security. For starters, identity can't be based on a human user anymore. Each and every AI agent needs its own unique identity. And the rules? They can't be static, set it and forget it rules. They have to be dynamic, constantly changing, maybe even generated by other AIs. And forget about human oversight. There's no way a person can watch millions of these agents. So you're going to need AI to police other AIs, watching out for any that go rogue.
So here's the crazy paradox in all of this. Even while AI is moving out to the edge to use the models, the need for these absolutely enormous data centers to train them in the first place is just exploding. And the scale we're talking about, honestly, it's hard to even wrap your head around.
Just take a look at the networking speeds inside these places. It used to be that we'd see a 10x speed increase every 4 or 5 years. That felt fast. But today the speeds are doubling every 12 to 18 months. I mean, we went from 10 megabit to 400 gigabit to 800 gigabits, and now we're at 1.6 terabit. That kind of acceleration is just insane. And it's all just to keep up with what it takes to train these giant AI models.
All right, I want you to just think about this number for a second. 51.2. That's 51.2 terabits per second. That is the amount of data a single networking chip can move every single second. It's a speed it's almost impossible to comprehend.
And to give you some perspective on that, just 10 years ago, to get that same 51.2 terabits of performance, you would have needed 9 full racks of equipment. 9. Today, all of that power, all of that speed, fits onto a single chip. It's that incredible consolidation that makes these modern AI data centers even possible.
And all of this leads to something new, the gigawatt data center. And we're not just talking about one building anymore. We're talking about entire campuses, multiple buildings that need so much power they're on par with a small city. The power demand is so mind-bogglingly huge that people are seriously talking about building brand new nuclear plants just to run them. Which brings us to this kind of startling final thought. You've got millions of these AI agents out at the edge, and these gigawatt-scale data centers back in the cloud. The whole system is just becoming way too big and way too complex for any human or even any team of humans to possibly manage. So what's the solution? Well, it seems we're going to have to use AI to sort of protect ourselves from the AI. The only way to secure it and control it is to have AI managing itself. A pretty wild future to think about, right?